Hello, it's Harry talking about the movies. Today we are going to talk about an American mystery film called Enola Holmes. Enola was born into a wealthy family in England in 184. Her dad had passed away at Enola's early age. At the same time, her two brothers also left home to work and study. Enola's memory of them was very vague. She and her mother were the only ones left at home. When she was 6 years old, her mother often taught her to play Scrabble. Letters could be changed into another sentence at will. She also taught her many skills such as painting and fighting. She felt that her mother was unusual since she was a child. On the morning of Enola's 16th birthday, everything changed. She found her mother suddenly missing. There was no one beside her at home. She became a loner. But her mother left her a high-grade wooden box. After opening, there was a diary, password paper, paintbrush and so on. That day, Enola rode her bike to the station to meet her two brothers. Her big brother Mycroft worked in the government. Her second brother Sherlock was a young detective. Enola adored her two brothers very much. But the two brothers walked past her and didn't recognize her at all. She had to take the initiative to stop them. The two elegant brothers scolded Enola as soon as they saw her dressed casually. After returning home, the two brothers saw that the house was very chaotic. They were annoyed that she didn't clean up. Mycroft and Sherlock also felt that their mom's sudden departure was a little unusual. To make Enola noble and elegant, Mycroft found her a teacher from London. According to the teacher, this was a women's intensive school. As a child, Enola resisted her very much, but she slapped her in the face. Enola was very dissatisfied with her big brother. She just wanted to live freely. Seeing Mycroft's firm attitude, she had to turn to her second brother, but he also had the same attitude. Enola became angrier. She found a note when she accidentally broke the brush. To find out the clue that her mother left home, she began to play Scrabble. Soon, she spelled out a sentence, "Enola, look inside my flowers." She was so happy that she immediately went to the vase in the living room to look for it, but there was nothing. Then she found a package behind the picture frame. There were a lot of money and clues left by her mom. To change her status and find her mother, she decided to leave home secretly. After dressing up, she came to the railway station far from home. After getting on the train, she met Viscount, a young aristocrat hiding in a big bag. Viscount also introduced himself to Enola and told her that he was on the run. But she felt that Viscount was a nincompoop. In order not to expose herself, Enola hurriedly asked Viscount to leave the train and told him, there was a man in an orange hat looking for you on the train. Viscount hurriedly left but returned right after, anxiously saying, that man is checking every seat, and hurriedly asked Enola for help. But Enola didn't promise him not to tell the man about his hiding place. Enola, who had just left, couldn't bear to hear Viscount scream. Thinking of what her mother taught when she was a child, she decided to go back and save Viscount. Enola saw Viscount hanging outside the train shouting, immediately coming forward with the man's crutch and hit the man. Enola pulled Viscount back into the carriage at the critical moment when the train was about to enter the cave. Then they fled to the coal carriage in front of the train. They jumped off the train and escaped the man's pursuit. Living in a deserted place was a problem. Fortunately, though Viscount was born an aristocrat, he also had survival skills. In the evening, they had delicious food and Enola cut Viscount's hair nicely. The next day, they went to London in a carriage. Viscount with short hair was very handsome. Enola and Viscount separated for safety when they arrived in London. There were many elections about reform on the street. Enola first came to a clothing store to buy clothes to integrate into urban life. Wearing a corset and a ball gown, she suddenly looked beautiful. Enola also rented a room temporarily through the shopkeeper's introduction. In the evening, she began to play Scrabble again, hoping to find her mother soon. She also published information in all London newspapers, trying to make her mom catch the information. She also remembered her mother's usual mailing address. That day, she came to a cafe with a martial arts training ground. Enola explained her intention to the coach. The coach also knew her mother and her. The coach said, your mother has been hiding all her life and has a job. But the coach didn't tell her what to do. Enola remembered when her mother was at home, she and a group of people in the room seemed to be discussing some plans. The coach was there. She seemed to know everything. Enola didn't ask anything, but she found a wooden box by accident. There was a dragon on the wooden box, which was the same as the one at home, but the contents looked like explosives. She vaguely remembered the words Limehouse Lane was the clue to Ellie Houseman through Scrabble. Then Enola came to Ellie Houseman, which looked shabby like a civilian area. A door lock in the alley caught her attention. The color of the ribbon on it was the same as the ribbon on the package her mom left for her. Her mom and everyone wore the same ribbon. Then she went through the window and came in. It was like a laboratory. Enola experimented with what her mother taught when she was a child. There was also a stack of newspapers tied with the purple ribbon on the table as if they were things for women's elections. There were many other things in the room, all made of explosives. Enola didn't understand what her mom had planned. When she left, she was suddenly kidnapped and pushed into the water. It was the killer on the train. Enola pretended to be unconscious when she couldn't get away. She took advantage when the killer didn't pay attention to fight back. Hiding aside, she was soon found. Thinking of what her mother taught when she was a child, she immediately slapped the killer. She accidentally broke the door lock and came to her mother's laboratory. But her corset had saved her. She lit the lab at the critical moment. There was an explosion inside and Enola took the opportunity to escape. When she returned to the rental house, she healed and analyzed why Viscount was chased. Thinking of her mother, she decided to find out the truth. She came to Viscount's house dressed as a widow. The nobles hated the dress. Viscount's mother was going to drive her away immediately. The people who came out with Viscount's mother and the detective were investigating Viscount's disappearance. Enola changed clothes with a gardener for £5 and learned that Viscount didn't stay at home and often went to the woods. On the other hand, her second brother Sherlock also came to the coffee shop and learned that Enola had been here. Mycroft also knew her dress through the detective in the barber shop. Enola came to the woods in a gardener's clothes. When she saw a fallen branch, she immediately remembered what Viscount said after the escape. There were obvious saw marks on the branches, obviously premeditated. She also found the house Viscount made on a big tree. Enola immediately climbed up and was amazed. A plan caught her attention. It was Viscount who led her mother's plan astray. Her idea that Viscount was a fool changed immediately. But she was also discovered by Viscount's grandmother. The old woman also talked about some reforms, saying her son only looked forward to the future but forgot the past. One day, Enola saw Viscount at the flower market. There was a missing notice of her at the door. Enola then took Viscount to her rental house. The detective who had been to Viscount's house had already ambushed, but Enola found out in advance. It turned out that the clothing store owner betrayed her. They immediately ran back to the room and blocked the door. For safety, Enola let Viscount escape first. However, Enola was also taken away by her brother, and her money was also taken away. After that, she studied in the Women's Intensive College. She made a lot of jokes about barbarism. One day, Sherlock also came to school. He also knew what Enola was looking for. He had come to places Enola had been to. The explosives could prove to have something to do with their mom's disappearance. She was running a secret plan. Sherlock understood Enola very well and thought she would be a qualified detective. He encouraged her to do whatever she wanted and not be influenced by society. Enola was immediately moved by what her brother said. When she returned to her room, she accidentally saw a newspaper about the election. Viscount had a decisive vote. It seemed that this had something to do with him being chased and killed. At this time, Enola, who was deep in thought, heard someone send her a bag. It turned out that Viscount hid in the package and asked someone to take him to Enola's room. Enola hid in the package and intended to leave here, but the headmaster found her. Viscount quickly lied that the package was for the headmaster. Enola was carried to the headmaster's office, but when the headmaster opened it, Enola had turned over the window and ran away. There was only a portrait of her brother proposing to the headmaster. Enola and Viscount ran away in the headmaster's car. On the way, she speculated that Viscount was chased and killed by his uncle. Viscount didn't believe what she said. To find out the truth, the two returned to Viscount's house in the evening. It was dark. Their voices caught the killer's attention. The killer in the dark kept shooting at them. They escaped due to the darkness. Enola began to use what she learned as a child to fight against the killer. But she was soon knocked out and Viscount was about to be killed. Enola was awakened at the last minute. She thought of what her mother had encouraged her. She tried her best to kill the killer with martial arts but she couldn't. Viscount's grandmother appeared. She picked up the gun on the ground and approached them slowly, saying, "For the country," and suddenly, she shot Viscount. Viscount didn't die. Enola wept with joy. At the end of the film, Viscount successfully participated in the election, and the two were also in love. Enola also saw the message her mother left in the newspaper. "Meet me at the Royal Academy at 5 tonight, mother." She immediately speculated on the reason. She had put out 3 suspicious points. First, her mom wouldn't sign mother. Second, the Royal Academy didn't receive women. Third, the second brother Sherlock might have done it on purpose. After changing clothes with the newspaper boy, she quietly came to the door of the Royal Academy to sell newspapers. The two brothers had been waiting here for a long time. Enola succeeded in getting free of their capture. She was stunned to see her mother at the rental house. Her mother also told the truth about her sudden departure. She didn't want Enola to grow up being judged by society. She wanted her to be herself. She was very proud to learn that Enola made the election successful. Finally, the mother and daughter held each other tightly. As a new Sherlock Holmes film, the story was still a little abrupt. Enola's mother's identity hadn't been revealed. That's all for today. I'm Harry. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and follow us. I'll see you next time.